I'm on, right? Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the P.D.S.T live stream. Today, we're going to be finishing up our work on moving and fighting with a pole arm. You'll notice today both of us have metal pole arms. And the reason for that is we're not actually going to be swinging at each other today. What I want to talk about is moving the pole arm around our body. And that's important for us because as we are moving, if I take a hand off of my pole arm to change grip, and there's even a small interaction between the pole arms, it's going to just be ripped right out of my hand. The difference between a pole arm and a quarterstaff is all the extra weight at the head. And this one, both of these have the head as well as the butt spike. So we want to make sure that we are not putting ourselves in such a position that the weight just tears it right out of our hand. As a general rule, and this is the Italian tradition. I'm not going to speak to the German tradition. It's not my wheelhouse. I can do more study on it, but most of my study has been in the Italian and English tradition. And in the Italian tradition, when I'm fighting, I want to have whichever side my staff is on, that foot is back. So if my staff is on my right side, my right foot is back. If my staff is on my left side, my left foot is back. And this is important because not doing that is going to put a twist in my body. There are times when I'm going to put a little twist because that's going to allow me to move up to other grips and do things. And this is a position that we see in Fiore's manuscript, in Fiore de Battaglia. So let's talk about our grip to start off with. With the pole axe or the Vector-Corbin, the battle axe, it can also be done with the partisan or the staff or the bill. It doesn't really matter. You want the back end, the cue, to be about the length of your forearm. You want your other hand about the length of your forearm above that. And then when you're holding this out here, I want you to think of your lead arm. Doesn't need to be right or left, just the lead arm is a platform that I move my staff around and I do a circle with the cue. I don't want to be using my elbow to do that. If John swings at me, go real slow. And so he does that, and I just do a circle with my forearm or with my back arm, using my lead arm as a pivot point. I can make a strike before he can get to me. If, on the other hand, go and do that again, and I do this, now he has the time to come in. He also has the momentum and the weight of all this coming in, making it potentially more difficult for me to defend myself. So when we are doing this, we want to make sure that our lead arm stays as a pivot point, a platform. And the way I like to teach this action is this arm is down and out, and we want to keep it away from our body. You can see how far it is. I'm not holding it here, it's out here. Then my cue hand, my back hand, we're going to do a circle. I bring it up to my forearm, into my ribs, down along my thigh, and back out to my guard. Up, in, down, out. And that moves my head, the head of my weapon around. So if we are on guard facing one another, I pull it up, in, down, out. I can use that to open up a little bit of space to give me something to do. Give me time to do an action. So again, that's up, in, down, out. And you'll notice when I push my cue out, that brings the head and the dag in to make the strike. If I want to go to the other side, I go in, up, out, down. So from here, I'm going to go, I just blanked on it. So I'm going to go in, up, out, down. In, up, out, down. And on this one, I'm going to bring it back to my thigh. So if we cross again, and we're here, right now, his dag has a line for a thrust to my face. But if I bring it in, up, down, out, I can open it up this way. Go and do that again. So in, down, out. I'm here. I go up, in, down, out to knock it this way, or this way. So I can move my staff in either direction. And my lead hand is a pivot point that allows me to do that action. So that's the right order. I go up, out, down, in. Up, out, down, in. Or I go and push the cue out. And that's going to move the head of the weapon in a circle. To move from one side of my body to the other, another circular action, I need to get my weapon over to the other side of the body. One of the most common things that people do when they're doing this is they'll slide this hand up, take this hand off, and grab it. Well, if I'm doing that and I'm facing John, and I bring this up and I take that off and he hits it right there, there's no way I'm going to be able to easily stop all the weight of the head of the axe with just my one arm and having it twist against my wrist. So when you're doing this transfer, do not take your other hand off. And the way we do that transfer is we're holding it here in our guard position. And this is high guard. Because my head is up, it's high. I slide my cue hand up to my lead hand. As I do that, I open my fingers, so I'm only holding it with my thumb and my index finger. So from here, and I bring it there. Then I just slide right over my hand and slide my hand back down to the cue, and that's what creates the strike in this transfer. So we can practice this without footwork, starting crossed, up, and then I'm going to step back. And the reason I'm stepping back or forward, but he has a dag in my face, so I'm not going to go forward. The reason I'm stepping is because it goes back to whichever side my weapon is on, I want that foot back. So I'm not twisting my body. Is it okay to twist my body?
It is.
When?
When you know you have a plan.
And it's tactically advisable. Sometimes we need to break the rules, but we can only break the rules when we understand what the rules are so that we break them safely for us. And a stop sign means stop. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and there's nobody around, sometimes you don't stop. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying it might happen.
Anything's a possibility.
However, if you come up to that stop sign at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when there's traffic, you need to know what that stop sign means and stop. So we're here. I slide up. I slide up. And at no point do I leave the weapon with my backhand, and I want to keep it about the same length. So again, I begin my transfer with a step out to my side. He attacks. Now I've got that position. Now watch this. I've just defended with my Q. So I complete my transfer to the other side. So what I'm doing is I begin my transfer. I see that coming in, so I use my Q to set that aside. Then I move my Q to the angle, and there's my transfer. So if we do that again, then I want you to do it.
Okay.
Into line. So begin your action.
Okay.
He comes up, I thrust in. He uses that Q. He continues his Q to his lead side, and now he's on the other side of his body. We want to keep that away from the body so that you have room to move the Q.
Got it.
And this is the same kind of thing that we've talked about in the other videos on this weapon, but also in the half sorting class. We're kayaking. I need to move one end to manipulate the other end. And because I'm doing a manipulation on a pivot point, a small action in the back is a large action in the front. And if I want my Q to come up, how do I get my Q up?
Well, you've got to move it down.
Move what down?
You need to move the head of your poleaxe down.
Where? I want my Q up. I'm gonna pull my head, the head, back.
Back, yeah.
So I'm not pushing up with the Q, I'm pulling back, which turns into a transfer.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a fight with poleaxe versus sword and shield in an alleyway in Edinburgh. Long story, I'll tell it sometime. But it was an aluminum-headed battle axe versus sword and shield. And using this kind of transfer allows us to utilize the entire weapon. And the nice thing about this weapon is because of its length, I can hit so many different targets. Right? If my opponent's swinging at me, I can go and do that again.
Okay.
Now, do you see how your arm bent?
Mm-hmm.
Do it again. Don't bend your arm. No, don't bend your arm. Yes, that's much better. Do you feel a difference in that?
Not hugely at the moment
Okay.
right now. The shoulder's numb.
Gotcha. So
thank you very much for reminding me.
yeah, be careful.
Yep.
So you begin that action. I transfer. Now he can do the same thing. Step back and pull the head of your weapon back. And there's where
My
we can get
deflection
that.
right there. Yeah.
And then he can come back in. Now I need to do something myself. So I open that up. Now how do I get my Q down?
You lift your axe head up.
I want my Q down. So I need to lift it up, but where do I lift it up?
Okay.
I'm going to pull it back this way. Oh, look how that goes in. Now, if he's in full armor, can we do that again?
Yes, sir.
So he does that. I begin my transfer. He goes back to cover that. I begin this. He starts his action. And I capture it here and then pull that back. Look where my spike is aimed. Where am I aimed at?
You are aimed at my elbow joint right now.
Right inside the elbow where there is no solid plate. I can go through the mail and damage the elbow. Let's switch sides and do that again, please.
Yes, sir.
How's your shoulder?
Shoulder's okay. It's one of the reasons I don't do 2/4 step or pole arms as much there is because this guy doesn't like it.
So he begins his action. I transfer. He covers. He counterattacks. I open up. Then my dag comes down and back, lining up my butt spike with his elbow to drive right in to make that damaging strike to his elbow.
And correct me if I'm wrong. In that position there, we are now having that tactical twisted position.
For me, yes.
For you, which now turns.
No, I'm not.
Because
Let
of
me
your wider
explain.
base?
Nope, because I stopped it. Let's do it again. What do you think I mean I stopped it?
You stopped your full action.
I did not stab you in the elbow.
Yep.
So let's do it
Because I was
again.
going to ask, that would be a step-driven action,
Yes,
wouldn't
it would.
So therefore, once again, we're seeing how this is a delivered by the entire body tool.
Right, and not only is this being delivered, not only is this force all being delivered, not just with my arms, but with my body. But just as importantly, I'm aiming with my body, not with my eyes.
Which we talk about all the time there. You cannot aim with the eyes. It doesn't give you the true accuracy with this tool. You have to be in the body position for it to find its target.
So that puts my point, whichever point I'm using, in line, as well as driving the force forward. So let's go ahead and do that again. So we're in here. He begins that circular action. I transfer. He uses his cue. He counterattacks me. I cover it here, drop it down. Now, this is where my weapon's on my left side, but my left foot's forward. Step back, but leave your staff where it is. I mean, pull it with you, but leave it in relation to your body. Okay. So go ahead and pull it away from me. No, pull the cue. There we go. Now I'm no longer twisted.
And there's the strike.
Right. So come back. Let's do it again.
Okay.
So then I go here. Stay there for me. I'm going to go. I'm not going to touch you.
Yes, sir.
Look how that just puts it right there.
Yeah.
And what are you going to hit me with?
I'm going to hit you with the haft of my poleaxer.
Where?
On your thigh.
Or on my armor.
Yep.
And it's going to be unpleasant, but there's not a lot of force behind it because there's not a lot of distance that he can travel. But because I'm putting my spike into his elbow, I have the distinct advantage on that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't pierce the male, although I really think I would, with a spike that looks like that, I think it would have no problem going through that male at all. These are medieval can openers, so they're meant for doing this job. Let's do that again, please.
Yes, sir.
So he throws that. Now I want you to step out that direction.
Yes, sir.
And then he counters. Now I step into it to stop it. And that's what gives me this, well, it looks like a twisted position. If I do this, you can easily pull your head back, can't you?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead, slow. And that brings the dag right into place. But if I drop the head of my staff down,
you put me outside.
And then when I step, he's going to react to me, slowly react.
Mm-hmm.
I can step wherever I need, and I've still got that
You have
target.
the exact same line, even if I'm trying to avoid it.
Because I can move and aim the point with my body. Let's switch sides and do that again, please. Go ahead and move. That works just as well for me. He's probably not that happy about it, but we know historically that's a legitimate
It is
target.
very much so.
Even if they have a tonlet, and then I hit that, or the skirt, I hit that, and then I slide off. Now we go right back to that drill we were talking about last week.
Yep.
So that targeting of using my body to aim my point allows me to do multiple options. One of the things that I like to talk about a lot is you never attack a target. What do I mean by that?
You never just choose a single target to aim at.
So what do I do?
So you line up multiple targets. So if you're aiming for my elbow here, you don't just aim at that. When you take your strike there, you want to line up another target like my groin.
Groin, yeah. So when I'm in this position, so go ahead and put it back here, and I volta stable, I'm actually aiming at the inside of his elbow. Don't move. Not the outside of his elbow. Because if I'm aiming at the outside of his elbow and he steps back, he's now taking it completely out of the way. And what did I give you?
You gave me a target.
I gave you my back.
Yeah.
And he's going to just stick that right through my aventel. And if I try to get out of the way, I'm going to eat that axe. So I have to understand that to set myself up, I want to line up targets. I never attack a single target. I line them up, so if I miss that one, which I assume there's a good chance that I will, because I never assume that I'm fighting a stupid opponent. They may be more experienced or less experienced than me, but they're not stupid. And because they're not stupid, they're going to get out of the way. They're not just going to stand there and go, oh, well, I guess I lose. So because I've now lined up my targets, without shifting my balance, I can hit other things, even if he surprises me. Let's do that again. I want to show you what I mean by that. So we're in here. He begins his action. I transfer to knock it off. I open up. I slide my hand down. He uses his cue to set that aside. Now he just thrusts straight in. Go back. Go for me. Slow. Look how I just set that aside. And because I opened it up, now what's my target?
Your target now is
that
this
elbow.
elbow, right? My left elbow.
But that's only a partial target. What do you think my real target is?
Right now?
Yeah.
I think it's my face.
With what?
With the head.
Yes, because I'm going to step out. I'm going to hit this elbow, open it, to bring that into play. Because I always line up my targets. And you'll notice, hold on to your staff again. So you were here. There is my line of strikes. Go ahead and face the camera. That is my line of strikes. Sometimes it would be coming in this way from the elbow to the groin. In this instance, it's elbow to head. So it's still a straight line, and I'm lining up my targets, but not necessarily for the same part of my weapon. So as a quick review, thank you for that.
Welcome, sir.
As a quick review, my lead hand, it doesn't matter right or left, my lead hand is a pivot point. So it doesn't move. When I move my cue around, I move the head of my staff. And a little secret to make this work. Let it go. You cannot do this if you're gripping your haft. You have to just let it rest there in your hand and move it around. It's only a pivot point. Up, in, down, out, or in, up, down, out, in. And so that's my circle there. I go up, in, down, out, or in, up, down, in. And you see how I'm rowing that boat, that kayak. But my lead arm isn't moving. My transfer, I have about the length of my forearm because I'm the most important person in the world and everything in this is set to my body. That's why my poleaxe is at the tip of the dag just about my height. I don't want it any bigger. So this is my Beck to Corbin. And my Beck is a little too tall for me. It's nice, it gives me more reach, but honestly, it's a little too long for me. I don't like them that long because it makes it more difficult for me to control. Because no matter how good you are, how experienced you are, these things are heavy. And when you're fighting with this in armor, you are gonna get tired. So it's about learning how to utilize it with the least amount of effort and still get the most amount of return. That brings us to our transfer. I'm here. I push my cue hand up. You'll notice again, my lead arm isn't moving. It's still just a pivot point. I slide my hand over so I never leave my weapon, step forward, and that should put me right back in to the exact same grip. That's our goal for this, is as I do this, I want right about the same grip all the time. And that's where the practice comes in. So you don't end up down here. I mean, as in Jute de la Hache, La Jute de la Hache, which is a French manuscript about fighting with the poleaxe, written by an Italian master in the early 1400s. He does say, deliver a mighty blow. I don't think it's going to be like this, just because if I miss, I am completely out of luck. But if I come through, I can get a lot of strike in there. And with that, we're going to close up this one. So I want to thank you for joining us. What did you learn today?
More play there and everything, and we're really noticing. So one thing I'm proud of myself is I'm noticing that I'm able to actually end with my proper cue and forearm distance between my hands now finally.
Good.
Talking about training there, I've had a high difficulty with that. One hand likes to slide more than the other sometimes. But really, really focusing on actually feeling the weight of the tool and why we're specifically in that mechanical motion.
Yeah. An important thing, and I've done small classes on this, it's kind of fun, and it's just learning to listen to the weapon. If you try to bend it to your will, you're going to get hurt. You have to let it guide you to your end result. But in order to do that, you have to learn to listen to whatever you're fencing with. And with that, we're going to close up. I'd like to say thank you for joining us. Take care of yourself, be safe, be sane as much as possible, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks for being here, everybody. Nice. There you go, Dave. Take care, everyone.
Be good.
So look at the head of your